You ever just stop and think about it? Where did all of this come from? The stars, our planet, you, me, everything. For literally thousands of years, that question belonged to philosophy, to religion. But now, modern physics is stepping up to the plate with an answer of its own, and honestly, it is absolutely mind-bending.
So here's the big question we're diving into. Could our universe have just popped into existence all by itself, guided by nothing more than the laws of nature? And this isn't just a science question. Oh no, this is a deep, philosophical puzzle that puts two very powerful ways of thinking head-to-head.
Okay, so let's start with the scientific side of the argument. This is the idea, coming straight out of theoretical physics, that you don't actually need a creator. You don't need some big supernatural event. The universe, in all of its incredible vastness, could just be a product of its own internal rules. Now, the guy who really brought this idea into the mainstream was, of course, the brilliant physicist Stephen Hawking. In his book, The Grand Design, he basically argued that the fundamental laws we already know about, things like gravity and quantum mechanics, are all you really need to explain how a universe could create itself from literally nothing.
So how does Hawking get around that super tricky question of what came before the beginning? Well, he uses this amazing analogy. He says asking what came before the Big Bang is like asking what's south of the South Pole. The question itself just doesn't make sense. At the very point of the universe's origin, time as we know it, it just behaves differently. There's no edge to look beyond, which would make the universe a totally self-contained system.
Okay, fine. But that just leads to an even bigger puzzle. Our universe seems incredibly, ridiculously fine-tuned for life. The values of the basic forces, gravity, electromagnetism, they're so precisely balanced that if you just nudge them even a tiny bit, stars wouldn't form, planets couldn't exist, and life like us would be impossible. So how do you explain that unbelievable stroke of luck?
Well, the scientific answer to that fine-tuning problem is maybe even more wild than a self-creating universe. It's the idea that our universe isn't the only one. That it's just one of countless others in this vast cosmic landscape called the multiverse.
And how many universes are we talking about here? According to the math from string theory, which is kind of our best attempt at a theory of everything, the number could be a 1 followed by 500 zeros. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that number. You can't. It's staggeringly huge. And each one of these possible universes could have its own completely unique set of physical laws.
So if you have that many universes, 10 to the 500th power, all of a sudden, it's not a surprise anymore that at least one of them, the one we happen to live in, would have the perfect combination of laws for life to emerge. It stops being a miracle and just becomes a game of cosmic probability. But not everyone is convinced, not by a long shot. This whole scientific picture faces a really powerful philosophical challenge, one that basically argues that science itself might be biting off more than it can chew. The heart of the philosophical argument is this. Laws of nature are descriptions, not creators. Think about it. The law of gravity describes how a planet orbits a star. It doesn't actually create the planet or the star. The laws are just the rule book for the game, not the players or the board itself. The writer C.S. Lewis put this so perfectly. He said, the rules of math can tell you that if you save $1,000 a month, you'll have $3,000 in 3 months. That's a law. But the rules of math can't create that money out of thin air. You still have to make the initial deposit. In the same way, you need a universe to exist first for the laws of physics to have something to act on. And this brings us to a real logical head-scratcher. We figure out all our physical laws by observing our universe, our space, and our time. So saying that these very same laws existed before space and time in order to create them, well, that's a huge leap of faith. It's kind of like saying the rules of chess existed before anyone had ever invented the board or the pieces. This whole debate really comes to a boil when you look at the multiverse itself. I mean, what is it really? Is it a genuine, testable scientific theory? Or is it just fascinating speculation that we can never, ever actually prove? And there are strong opinions on both sides, for sure. On one hand, you have physicists like Max Tegmark who argue the multiverse is a direct prediction of cosmic inflation, our best theory for the universe's first few moments. But on the other hand, you have thinkers like G.F.R. Ellis who are really skeptical. They say it relies on a bunch of unproven ideas and might be fundamentally untestable, which could put it beyond the reach of science altogether. So what if this whole conflict isn't about who's right and who's wrong? What if it's about what kind of question is being asked in the first place? This gets us to the crucial difference between how and why. Science is the undisputed champion of how. Absolutely. You can give a scientist a steam engine, and they can take it apart and explain exactly how pressure and heat and mechanics all work together to make it go. It's all about describing the cause and effect, the nuts and bolts of the natural world.
But what science can't tell you is who built that steam engine, or why they built it. Those are questions about purpose, about agency, and that's the territory that philosophy and theology have always been trying to map out.
You see, science operates under a very important ground rule. It's called methodological naturalism. It's pretty simple. When you're doing science, you can only use natural causes and natural laws to explain things. This is what keeps science laser-focused on the how.
But it's really easy to confuse that rule with something much bigger called philosophical naturalism. This is a much grander claim. This is the belief that the natural world is all there is, that there is no why, or at least no creator behind it. And the key thing to remember is that this is a philosophical position. It's not a scientific finding.
Which leaves us right here with this one last powerful question to chew on. Science is getting better and better every single day at explaining the rules of the game. But can it ever explain the existence of the game itself?